G'day everyone, Artist Wayne Dowson here with another DR650. Hang on a sec. One Sunday arvo not too long ago, I swapped my mighty DR650 for wife Jacqui's little Yamaha TDR 250 under strict instructions to not destroy her bike, and Mighty Mike jumped off his DR650 onto his Yamaha WR 250, and Mr. Dusty Taylor swapped his GS 800 BMW for his XR Honda 400, and together we became the champion Chook Chasers. And what do we do on these smaller, agile and lighter bikes, apart from having loads of fun? Well, to use a few descriptive phrases from Dusty Taylor, you head off and find the snottiest, nastiest, ruttiest hill climbs. Hill climbs that just seem to go on forever. The sort of hill climbs that when you reach the top, your arms are 2 inches longer. That's right, our whole afternoon was spent finding this kind of terrain. And we rode trails all through the Watagans and Sugarloaf Mountain. And in other videos you may have noticed Jacqui carries some spare tubes on her front guard, which is no longer there. Well friends, that's because I stacked her bike a little earlier, where I ripped her front fender bag off and also cracked her front windscreen. And a little later on I was going to find out I did a lot more than that. But it was a beautiful day, I was with great company, and we were tearing through the bush like madmen. Now the day before this ride, Dusty came for a visit. He came over to have a look at some of my artwork, and while he was at our house, wife Jacqui told him that I suffer from a bad case of ODD. And that, friends, is oppositional defiance disorder. She reckons that when she tells me to do something, I always say no. But it works both ways, because if you tell me I can't do something, or that something's impossible, well then quite often I'll just have to do it and prove you wrong. But before I get ahead of myself, let's just go back in time to a point a little earlier on our ride. I'd been talking to the boys about this nasty hill that I rode down, it must have been about a year ago, and I'd made a little video about it. It was a hill that gave me a whole heap of trouble, and maybe some of you remember this. So we were heading over to that hill because I wanted to conquer it, and just before we got there, that's when things went a little pear-shaped. As I was riding, I could feel Jacqui's left peg moving lower and lower towards the ground, and when we pulled over to have a look, there was a big tear in the frame where the peg bracket is attached. So I banged it back into place with a rock, and we tied a whole heap of cable ties around it, but I just couldn't put any weight on it. And that's when Dusty said, "Oh well, that's bad luck, Wayne, you're not going to be able to do that hill." And naturally, that's when my oppositional defiance disorder kicked into overdrive. I had all intentions of conquering that bloody hill, regardless of whether the peg was broken or not. I just had to wait for Mike to pick up his bike. And here I really have to say, throughout the entire day, I was so impressed with the Yamaha TDR 250. It's such a terrific bike. Very capable of everything that was thrown at it throughout the day. Of course, having a lighter bike makes it so much easier, and it was a welcome change compared with the weight of the DR650. Anyway, what goes down must come back up, especially when there's a dead end at the bottom of the hill. So I gave my camera to Dusty, who was going to capture all the action. First it was Mike on his Yamaha WR 250, and then it was my turn on the awesome Yamaha TDR 250 with a broken peg. And I'll tell you what, it was such a good feeling to get up that hill and conquer it. and I started to really appreciate the little Yamaha and what it can do. But the day wasn't over yet, and it was time for me to have a ride on Dusty's Honda XR400. But first, I just had to get used to the throttle, because I stalled it 3 times, but once I got used to it, boy, it was a joy to ride. A very nice bike with loads of torque. This bike had the power the TTR lacks. And thanks to Dusty, I spent the rest of the day enjoying it. And as with all good things, they must come to an end. And eventually, I had to give the bike back. But I had far too much fun to not want to do this again. So my number one priority now is to weld up Jacqui's bike frame and get back in her good books. So when that eventually happens, I'll see you all on the trails. I'm artist Wayne Dowson, and thanks for watching everyone.